Hello everybody and welcome to Gene's Reviews. Reviews from a regular dude. Where I do trailer reactions, I react to YouTube videos, I review YouTube channels, occasionally I'll review a movie, but really, I just do whatever the hell I want. Hello everybody and welcome to Gene's Reviews. Reviews from a regular dude down in the basement. Today we're going to do one from Top 5 Unknowns, some more missing 411. 5 missing 411 cases that remain unsolved to this day. That remained unsolved to this day. I wonder if that means they've solved them. That remained unsolved to this day. Let's check it out.
The cases covered under the missing 411 phenomenon are truly strange, with missing people being found in impossible areas, experiencing severe memory loss, or being found with articles of clothing missing in freezing conditions, to name but a few. There are some cases, however, that have frustrated investigators for years, where people have gone missing and are never found again. Number 5. James J. Arthur was aged 67 and was a retired Air National Guard lieutenant and decorated veteran from California. He also served as the spokesperson for the 144th Fighter Wing for some time. On Monday, the 28th of July, 2008, James traveled to the Star Lakes area, where he was planning to do some fishing and take pictures of the area. He informed his family of his plans and told them that he would also stop at the Big Sandy for lunch before returning home by nightfall. James was
I don't think it's a good idea to go like in remote areas like that completely alone. Unless maybe if you have like a GPS tracker or something like that, but still to go completely alone, you need to have somebody else with you, just, for safety reasons, in my opinion.
Was known as an experienced hiker whose only medical condition was periodic knee pain. And so his family had no concerns over him spending the day in the wild. Before he set off, he packed his camera, backpack, and walking cane, along with a loaded pistol with snake shot in case he came across any rattlesnakes. Upon arriving at the Iron Lakes Reservoir, he parked his blue 4-door Dodge Ram truck on a nearby road and headed into the woods. At some point during his hike, James met 2 people on a trail where he had stopped to take a rest. He told them he was heading for Iron Lakes, about 14.5 miles from Star Lakes, where he told his family he would be fishing. This would be the last time Jim was ever seen. A search and rescue team of over 100 people set out to look for him. But despite his truck being found the next day, no trace of Jim or any of his equipment, clothing, or remains have ever been located. The search was focused on the various lakes in the area, but 12 years after mysteriously vanishing into thin air, there are still no answers as to his whereabouts.
I wonder if that has something to do with the people that he ran into. I'm sure they've looked into it. That's something that I'd be looking into.
Number 4. In 2002, Christopher Tompkins was a 20-year-old man living with his mother in Georgia. At the time, he was working for a surveying company, the owner of which was good friends with Christopher's mother, as she babysat his children from time to time. On January 25th, he left his home and headed to work where his shift started at 8 a.m. After arriving at the office, he left his vehicle and traveled with a coworker to the site at County Line Road where they would be working for the day. With them were 2 other surveyors, and the 4 men were working in a line formation, each of the crew being roughly 50 feet apart from the next, Christopher being the last in line. After a few hours of work, they took a break to have lunch before continuing with their task. Christopher was having a conversation with the man closest to him, who at one point looked away from him to complete a task. When he spoke to Christopher again, he got no response, causing him to look in his direction, only to find he was no longer there. At first, he assumed that Christopher had stepped into the tree line to relieve himself, but when he did not emerge as expected, he called to the other workers and they walked to the spot where they had last seen him only a minute ago. They called out to him but got no response, and upon investigating further, they found one of his work boots hanging from a barbed wire fence only a short distance away, along with all of his work tools. This caused them great concern, and they phoned 911, but they were told that Christopher would not be considered a missing person until at least 24 hours had passed. Following the 24-hour waiting period, police entered the area and started searching. They found a blue piece of fabric similar to that of Christopher's work pants, and 12 cents in loose change directly below the work boot on the barbed wire fence. Police questioned his co-workers and quickly surmised there was no foul play involved. 5 hours later, a local farmer reported finding a boot on a stretch of swampland located on his farm, less than a mile from where the crew had been working. It was identified as belonging to Christopher, but despite finding these clues after his disappearance, police...
Okay, this one to me sounds like some kind of an abduction. An alien abduction, or he walked in through the veil or something into an alternate reality or something, because to just disappear like that out of nowhere, this one's crazy.
Police are no closer to figuring out what may have happened to him.
Yeah, that one's nuts.
Number 3. 30-year-old George Panka from Hawthorne, California, traveled with a group of his church friends to Yosemite National Park on June 17, 2011. The group consisted of 80 people in total that would be spending the day in the area. 20 out of the 80 people would be hiking to the upper Yosemite Falls area, and George was part of the smaller group. He was not in great physical shape and had some medical issues that would prevent him from hiking for too long, but he assured his fellow hikers that he would be more than capable of traversing the terrain that they were planning to cover. He was wearing running boots and carried a blue cloth bag in which he had a small amount of food and water for the hike. It should be noted that the hikers were warned to stay on the main trail at all times, as the areas adjacent to the trail are known to be very steep and dangerous. Once the group reached the top of the trail, they took a few moments to take in the scenery at the lookout point before heading back at their own leisure. Some members of the group would later report that they noticed George had at one point fallen behind and was trailing the others. He continued onto Yosemite Valley floor and assumed that he would arrive shortly after, but there was still no sign of him by 9 p.m., so he was reported missing to park officials. An initial search was launched that same evening, but George was still missing. The following morning, a full-scale search was started in favorable weather conditions. Helicopters, search dogs, and 105 search and rescue personnel from around the state
lot
combed
of
the
people.
area where George was last seen, but no trace of him was found. After searching for 6 days without any result and covering 70 square miles of rugged terrain, the search was scaled down to a limited continuous search on the 23rd of June. Despite the best efforts of over 100 people, the use of search dogs and aerial assistance, George Panka's disappearance remains a mystery.
Yeah, that one's weird.
Number 2. Garrett Kirk, age 31, from Milwaukee, was an avid outdoorsman who would often go on solo hikes in the woods. In 2014, he just finished his first term of online study with National University after transferring his credits from Portland Community College, where he'd been studying business. He'd planned to gain his bachelor's degree, after which he was looking to study for his master's. On the 3rd of December, 2014, he traveled to the Mount Hood National Forest, where he would spend a few days hiking, planning to return home on the 6th. When hiking, he was in the habit of always informing his family of his plans, but on this occasion, he had neglected to do so. When he had not returned home as planned on the 7th, his sister, Whitney Kirk Altman, reported him missing, but since searchers had no clue where he had been hiking, they didn't have a starting point to start the search. When his gold Pontiac Grand Am was located in the parking lot of Frog Lake Campground by a family member on the 8th, the search could finally be started in the heavily wooded areas near his vehicle. Police pinged his cell phone.
Yeah, you would think he wouldn't be far from where his vehicle was located. That's what you would think, unless he got abducted.
And found that he'd been in an area east of Frog Lake, heading in a southwesterly direction. This led them to believe he may have traveled from Clackamas County to Wasco County, and jurisdiction of the search was switched to Wasco County Sheriff's Office. Around 170 search and rescue personnel from all across Oregon were dispatched to the area around Frog Lake and Twin Lakes, coordinated by the Wasco Sheriff's Office. Surveillance aircraft were brought in to aid in the search, using infrared technology, which is able to detect body heat. Sniffer dogs were also used, and the search continued for 9 days in damp and cold weather. 7 years after disappearing, no sign of Garrett has ever been found.
The weirdest one so far is that guy.
Number 1.
That, I think it was the second one we saw. That one was crazy.
Emerson Edward Carbeau, also known as Red, was a 64-year-old man from St. Thomas, Pennsylvania. He suffered from
Wow. He looks older than 64 to me.
a rare skin condition that causes blistering, which ultimately caused scarring to his face. He also suffered from high blood pressure and needed to take medication at regular intervals to regulate his condition. On the 11th of November, 1985, Carbeau and his stepbrother, Ralph Essett from Saxton, took a trip to Robertsdale Mountains where they would hunt for turkeys. They headed to a field adjacent to an old logging road, and at around 2 p.m. decided to split up, each man taking a different path into the woods.
No.
Before going their separate ways,
Don't split
they
up.
agreed to meet back up at Carbeau's truck at an agreed upon time. Due to light rainfall, Carbeau was wearing a camouflage coat and a wool sweater, along with brown duck.
If you're in a place that you're not familiar with, and you have people with you, you do not split up.
Hunting pants and black rubber-soled boots. He was also carrying a Remington pump-action shotgun. After hunting for some time, Essett returned to the truck in the late afternoon. He waited for Carbeau for a while, but as it was starting to get dark, he became concerned when Carbeau did not emerge from the woods. He thought that Carbeau must have gotten lost while hunting, and he fired 6 shots into the air, hoping that he would hear the gunfire and follow the sound back to the truck. After waiting a while longer, Carbeau had still not arrived, and Isette proceeded on foot to find help. By the time he reported his hunting partner missing, it had gotten too dark to search, but the following morning, a search party was organized at a volunteer fire company close by. 12.
With all of his health problems, anything could have happened. The high blood pressure, he could have passed out somewhere, and he could have got attacked by a bear. Anything could have happened.
Square miles of woods were searched by more than 1,800 people over the following 2 weeks. Searchers walked arm in arm through rugged terrain, hoping to spot Carbeau somewhere in the woods. 2 types of search dogs were used. Scuba divers searched the waters nearby, and helicopters with FLIR technology searched from the air. But no sign of Carbeau was ever found. In 2004, Carbeau's wife, Ida, was contacted by someone who said they knew what happened to her husband. They claimed that Carbeau had been killed and buried on a farm in the area of Robertsdale. They told her they dug up a piece of bone which they believed belonged to Carbeau, and it was taken to the Huntington State Police.
I'll bet it's not.
State Police then sent the bone to the Pennsylvania DNA lab, which is located in Greensburg. But due to the small size of the bone fragment, and considering it was 19 years after the fact, it had degraded to the point that no DNA was present anymore. Ida would later state that there were other hunters in the area, and that Carbeau had told her that there were 5 other men loading turkeys into a truck in the area where the 2 men had planned to go hunting. This was never proven, however, and Carbeau has never been found.
He could have... God damn thing. His videos end too damn quick, and they go right on to the next one. Anyways, it's okay, Gene. Chill. Take a chill pill. Anyways, anything could have happened to that guy. Maybe those other guys that were hunting the turkeys shot him by accident. And then now they're covering it up. Who knows? That, I think it was number 4 was the weirdest one to me. That guy was the surveyor or whatever. Okay, I got a joke for you. A cop pulls a guy over. He says, you were doing 80 in a 55. He says, I was doing 55 in the last few minutes. I guess I just wasn't paying attention. I thought I was keeping up with traffic. His wife says, that's not true. You were doing 85 or 90 the whole time. The guy says, shut up. The cop says, I also noticed your seatbelt's not buckled. Well, sir, I had it buckled, but when you pulled me over, I knew you'd need to see my license, so I unbuckled it. His wife says, that's not true. You didn't have it buckled at all. He said, what the hell is wrong with you? Shut up! The cop walks around to the other side of the car and motions to the lady to roll down her window. He says, lady, does he always talk to you like that? She says, no, only when he's drunk. Thank you, everybody. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, hashtag Mean Gene, all that fun stuff. And if you like this video, tell all your friends, leave a comment down below. And if you didn't like it, then just shut up. And I will see you next time.